Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome back to another From the Depths subscriber craft review. And today we have the ship I mentioned in the last episode I uploaded of From the Depths, and that is the... the Lapis Escort class destroyer by regular commentator and all-round ship smarty person, Sunday Lau. And it's as its name described, it is a destroyer, I guess. Like, I'm still very fuzzy on ship categories, especially with this game where scale is kind of hard to determine. I mean, this thing is... it's 100 meters long, it's 30 meters tall, it's all that stuff. I'm still fuzzy on, like, at what point, like, a frigate becomes a destroyer and a destroyer becomes something else and blah 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 blah. I guess mainly it's the role they're designed for. But I have to go look at the comments section again, because people have explained it to me. In fact, Sunday Lau has explained it to me multiple times. But anyway, onto the ship. This is a thing up on the workshop, and as with the last time, I'll put it in the description. The link to the workshop page. And this is quite the classy little boat. It's got 4 guns, not counting the little direct input feeders. Immediately 100 points out the gate for having those, because I love direct input feeders. Tiny little ones. Look at that. Let's turn the UI back on so we can poke at this more clearly. Little 40mm solid rounds being fired there. I can't remember which ones... oh, which... let's see here. Those ones are hollow points, and this one here I believe is bow rounds. Yeah. And the guns themselves. On each side, I can't remember which one is exactly which, but 2 of them fire little hesh shells. Hesh shells. That's an awkward combination of words to say. Hesh shells. And the other 2 fire heat. So nice, versatile ammunition. Looks absolutely amazing. It's like Sunday Lau makes some really good ships. I do recommend checking out his workshop page. He's made a lot of craft, and a lot of them, well, most of, not all of them, look very, very nice. Little decorative things here. Like, I'm always impressed by people who actually put stuff on their ships that isn't strictly necessary. It's just there to look good, because goodness knows I cannot do that. Like, whenever I try it, A, is, like affects the ship in some way, and B, it looks really ugly. I mean, look at this. Steam piping, cram cannon segment, right here, and that's just so this thing has a mast. And looks cool. Very impressive. Like, I'll probably never be able to do that, but okay. And it, I believe, it has a piston. No, it is, sorry, my mistake, not a piston, it's a steam engine. It's like steamwork stuff. Okay. That's fine, that's fine. Anyways, so one of the reasons I'm reviewing this thing right now, I just realized I forgot to set my timer. That's important. One of the reasons I'm reviewing this ship is because it is... the way it's built and the... I guess the game plan it's going for is such a radical contrast to the one I usually roll with. It's just, I just got to talk about it. It's fantastic. For one thing, advanced cannons, and actual good ones, rapid-fire ones. You might have noticed by now I tend not to use them. That's partially because, although I do understand how they work and how to build them, I can't get them to do things like this. Especially, like, to the point of, like, safely fitting them onto a ship. Which this ship does quite nicely. 4 120mm guns. High explosive. And the thing works. It doesn't... like, yeah, so we'll move on to the, like, the pros of the thing already, I guess. These guns are quite good, despite the fact they're quite small. Like, you throw it against, what's something regular, let's throw them against a Prowler, you'll see how well it does. Where's the Prowler? Oh, there. At this range it might not do so well, but, yep, at this range it actually doesn't do very well at all. Whoopsies! Okay, that wasn't a strictly fair test. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Because I just threw the thing at close range against something much bigger and more expensive that is. Sorry, Sandy, that might have looked very painful. But in any case, it's got good guns. Like, maybe you saw how it was starting to shred the Prowler a bit there, and at a longer range it would have done a lot better. It's also reasonably quick, by the way, which I like in the ship. It goes... Its top speed is just short of 20 meters per second, which is very nice. More on how its propulsion works later. It's good against armored targets because it's armed with squash heads and shaped charge heads in, like, all of its guns. Well, the 4 main ones, at least. It's surprisingly non-explodey. Like, to give you an idea of what I mean... 2, 3, 4... You vanish, you have a look at this thing, and these are guns loaded with high explosive rounds, by the way. You can see that right there. They're very close together. And you might be thinking, like, hang on, isn't that a bit... Well, certainly when I looked at this, I thought, like, okay, so this is a glass cannon. Like, it's the kind of thing where you look at it and it's designed to do a lot of damage very quickly and not designed to take it. This thing is surprisingly durable, like more than you might expect by seeing guns arranged like this. I'm not sure how, like, Sunday managed this, but also very artfully put together advanced cannons. Like there's some lovely Tetris going on in here, like having the inputs on the other side and all that stuff. Real spaghetti junction going on there. But in any case, I'm not entirely sure how, but I think the explosive radius of this is just small enough so that if one of these turrets goes, it doesn't take the other one with it. At least in my testing, that's what happened, because this thing doesn't explode like a firework like some other ships do when you fling them at it. And I just noticed that the front guns are less armored than the rear ones. The rear ones have a lot more armor around the collar and stuff like that. So there's, like, for the record, like, I've looked at some of the other ships that are on Sunday's workshop, and a lot of them are similar to mine in that they tend to run away from their opponents a lot. So an armored backside actually works quite well for that, and armored turrets in that armored backside work as well. You see here, it's got shields. Not incredibly strong ones, but they do the trick. And the armor on this is... Oh my god, come on. There we go. Now, the armor is not incredible, which is another reason why this thing is surprisingly tough. Like, on the waterline right here, you see... Where's the waterline? Around here. It has about a layer of alloy and a layer of metal, and then it's, I think it looks like an air gap? Not quite an air gap, but then there's the gun itself, and, like, before I tested this, I thought this thing would get shredded like paper, but it turns out no. No, it's like, it's tougher than it looks. It seems to work. And, like, down here you see it's just one layer of metal, and then it's the engine right there. More on that later. And yeah, so it's got pretty damn good firepower, and it is tougher than you would think at first glance. And it's like, it's very pretty. So that's basically, well, very pretty. It looks bloody fantastic. Like, look at this. It's even got a little walkway right here, just like a real warship would have. Now, onto the things that, for me, would prevent me using this ship in the campaign as is. I probably will use this, but I will tweak it a little bit. I will change a few things about how it works, and I know, little tweaks here and there. Like, for a start, I'll strip all the cosmetic stuff off. Sorry, Sunday. Like, I'm like that. If a piece of block isn't doing something functional, I don't like it there. It's why my stuff doesn't have decoration. However, so this thing is described on the workshop as being anti-air, anti-surface. Anti-surface, yes, it actually does really well against armored targets, as I said before. It doesn't do so well against aircraft, and I'll show you what I mean by spawning in a few little planes. The flying squirrel, for instance. So we spawn the squirrels right on top there, and it is hitting them, but not incredibly well. then we get to another point. Is that this thing has no missile defense at all. Like, not against torpedoes, not against infrared missiles. Squirrels are armed with infrared missiles, by the way, so it's a bit of an issue that this thing has no defense against that. I think it has essentially annihilated one squirrel, but it's not doing incredibly well. See, it's missing a lot, and that's because, like, the squirrels move very jankily and very fast, as aircraft are wont to do, and this is gonna take a while. It's not helpless, but it's not ideal for the job either, and that's what I think of when I think anti-aircraft ship. I think something that can deal with those little small, annoying aircraft. Like, we're talking squirrels and the deep water guard, we're talking spirals with the Steel Striders. Gods, I hate spirals, they're really irritating, and especially the little drones that the... what do you even call it? The twin guard like to use, because those things are very irritating. Their ships keep spawning them. This is not the ship I'd describe as the job for that. I would replace these... well, I'd just change the ammunition and just change it to flak. Then add a laser... I was about to say laser pointer. It's laser targeter on them, and then the thing would work pretty well as an anti-aircraft ship, really. Except for one thing. You will notice with these guns that... if we do the magic trick, I forget who told me this, but whoever you are, thank you so much. I love you. These are one-axis turrets, just 1 meter by 1 meter, which means they turn slow. They turn that way, they turn slow, they turn to the front, they turn slow. They turn that way, they turn slow. And that's understandable, because if you go into the build menu, like, this is also on the Steam version, this is advertised as kind of a starter craft, something to get you rolling in the campaign. And for that reason, like, 54,000, like I have learned, is actually not incredibly cheap. You can go a lot cheaper than that. Like, my starter grade craft, the Skink, is less than half of that, but it's made of wood and doesn't have any guns on it. So, you will see in the new objects that, okay, understandable why you want to go cheap with a turret, because a one-axis turret, just the regular one, is 70 materials. The 3x3 is 6 times that, more than, like closer to 7 times more expensive, and a 5x5 meter is like ridiculously expensive. So using these two would speed up the traverse of these guns a lot more, but it would make it a lot more expensive. So understandable, but this thing would work much better as an anti-aircraft ship if you had faster turrets, just so they could spin around and track, because you could see when the squirrels were flying over this thing, the guns were taking a while to spin. They weren't quite fast enough to track a squirrel flying straight over the top of them. So yeah, that's one modification you could make to this thing. You would make it a fair amount more expensive. It would probably push it. Where would I push it? It would go over. It would probably go over 55,000 resource easily by doing that, though. And right, so also mentioned before, like, this thing was getting like pummeled fairly hard by the missiles of the squirrels, and those are infrared. Those are really simple to deal with. They're just like flare launchers are very, very simple to make. Like, I'll add, like, you can add 2 on this thing right now. Like, whoop, and where is it? Where is it? Where did I put it? It's the kind I always use. Ah, here they are. Whoop, and whoop, whoop. Doop, and doop. So all it is, it's an automatic control block. Controller, launch, bad gantry, ejector optional, and in this case I'm just going to set it to fling left. So, test if that works. Too far. 40. Too far. Yeah, the railing's probably messing with this, but you get the idea. So, I'm distracting myself now. I should be reviewing the damn ship. Okay, so not ideal with these little things here, but You get the point. The like flare dispensers are very, very quick to set up. They are very cheap and just there's very little reason not to use them, except possibly aesthetically, because they probably don't match the rest of the aesthetics with the ships, because goodness knows warships don't fire, real-life warships do not fire flares that are a meter long and a meter across. That's just silly. But, that at the very least... Oh my god, what? Up, please. I'm gonna be sick. There we are. So if we, whoop, spawned in a squirrel again. Admittedly, it's now landing straight on top of us. That's not ideal. Up. And once more. Lovely. If we spawn in 2 squirrels again, you will see. Well, in that particular case, the flares did not do much. But you'll see next time. Next time for sure. Well, that one distracted one of them at least. I think I just discovered why Sunday didn't bother with flares. Or at least not flares in that case. But it's distracting a few of them. You get the idea. If you possibly are not as dumb as me, which, like... Well, at the very least, not in as much in a rush at me, you could put really easy flares on this. I spent way too long doing that. God damn it. So in any case, it needs missile defense, flares at the very least, radar decoys, an option. But some kind of torpedo defense is also a good idea, because I tested this thing against, I guess you could call it the service rival to it, or the potential one. It is the ship I have shown up before, and it's the one I currently would use for anti-aircraft, anti-surface. It's the Crocodile, which I guess is also a destroyer of sorts, although for some reason I always think of it as a monitor, because it just looks like one. Although I guess, no, a monitor is a completely different thing. Ignore me! So this thing is, firstly, it's more expensive than the Lapis, so, like, already the Lapis has advantage here. I pit these two against each other as an experiment, and, like, spoiler alert, the Crocodile won. Now, partially, I'm not holding that against the design of the Lapis, because firstly, the Crocodile is ridiculously over-engineered in many ways, and it's a lot more expensive. Like, Lapis is about 55,000, Crocodile is almost 60,000, so that's a 5,000 material difference. But, the thing is, the Lapis also has torpedoes, which I didn't mention before. The Crocodile has torpedo defense. Ever popular shark popper. And so that's the difference. The Crocodile also has good shields and blah blah blah, also ridiculous spread rate, but that's the thing. The Lapis would do very well to have some kind of torpedo defense, even just sonar decoys would do the trick nicely, because this thing gets creamed by torpedoes. You look down here, see, this is one layer of metal on the bottom, that is not ideal. Admittedly, that one layer is metal, which is pretty good, actually. And just lower down in the middle, it's one layer again. Admittedly, it's got slopes, air gaps, all that stuff. But yeah, torpedoes really do a number on this thing. Which isn't an entirely bad thing, because again, starter craft, cheap craft. The beginning game usually doesn't have many heavily torpedo-armed craft to deal with. It has a few, like goodness knows, all the freaking red tuna we've been destroying in the campaign, those all have torpedoes, which is slightly irritating. Now, Crocodile, you're hogging the show, so go away. Die! Whoopsies! Look at her go. So in any case, and the last thing that is about the Lapis, so I mentioned before it's tankier than it looks, so we do this. Wrong button. Do, and do, and do. So P. So we've got two layers near around the guns, around the AI, around the important bits. The engine is a little bit more vulnerable. You see this damaged little ally block here. It has not an awful lot above it. It has a gun mounted straight over it, but you see here this little corner here, it's one layer of alloy and another non-stacked layer of wood above it. The engine tends to get destroyed, especially, again, like from beneath by torpedoes or even by infrared missiles, because it doesn't have flares. So the engine, in a number of the tests I've run, this thing has been immobilized. Admittedly, it still fights after that and doesn't die easily, but, like, the engine is vulnerable. And you can see here, there's even a space here. Here, there's one layer of wood. Admittedly, there's stuff right above it, but over here, frags or explosions would tear straight through this, and they go straight into the engine. I've seen that. So, I guess in summary, good ship. I would definitely recommend getting this on the workshop, playing around with it. Oh yeah, there was one last thing. And this is very much a personal thing. Incidentally, this custom rudder over here is fantastic. I love that. But, so there's one last thing. And that is that, what's he done here? How's that? Seriously, what? Wow. I have no idea what he's done here. Boat rudder. This is on a spin block. That's on a spin block. Okay, I'm confused. I honestly don't know how Sunday managed this, because this rudder should be completely blocking this propeller, but it isn't. So somebody tell me how that works, because that flies in the face of, like, what if I do this? Yep. If you do this... Not that, yeah, muggins. Oh my god, I figured it out. It's only the placement block of the rudder that affects the force output of other blocks. I think that's it. Anyway, very cunning, Sunday. See, I learned something. The other thing I noticed is, like, okay, this thing actually goes quite fast, only got 2 propellers on the back. Where's the rest of it? It is in here, and we all have our own little, I don't know, slightly cheesy, exploity things we like to do. I personally like to stick repair bots on all my stuff, and just overdo it so they repair really quickly, and apparently, Sunday, you like to do the spin block trick, which is sticking propulsion on a spin block, because... What? What? Oh, it's scaled by 1. No, we're good, we're good. So, these propellers logically should not work because they're cut off from the water. I think, yeah, there's an air pump in here. What? So, it's quite funny, but because they're on spin blocks, they act as if the rest of the ship isn't there, and they work anyway. Multiple reasons for doing this. Firstly, it means you can stick them anywhere in the ship. They're nice and safe from, like, enemy fire. They've got a layer of metal there. The only problem with it is that it's cheesy. It is an exploit. And I personally would never do this. It would trip my conscience. I feel guilty. Other people, not so much. So, there is that. I personally do not like that. But if you want to do it in your craft, like, go ahead. I cannot stop you. I don't even want to try. So, now getting to the overall summary of the ship is that I like it. I like it a lot. This is a ship with a lot of character. I guess it's like the... Well, it's not like the Tanafa, but like the Tanafa, I like when a ship kind of has a character. You can kind of feel the person who made it. This is a very definite style being going for here, which is like modern military style. It's a destroyer, it's got knickknacks all over it, and it is effective. It does mostly as advertised, except for the whole anti-air thing. And honestly, it would need very little changes to make a very scary ship indeed. So, thank you, Sunday, for linking me to the Lapis Escort class destroyer. And thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Subscribe and review. I just thought of like another thing to say, in that if you change this to flak, the turrets would blow each other up, but it's a little bit too late to keep reviewing because I've already done my outro. Farewell!